That's next door. No. All right. First of all, we would love to give a big round of applause to Dick Reminger for allowing us to use this facility. Dick's always been a friend of the museum. We certainly appreciate that. How many of you are members of the museum? Quite a few. Very good. You had to pay admission tonight if you were not a member. However, if you would like to become a member, you may use tonight's admission to go toward your membership. So just keep that in mind. Some perks of being a member. You can have unlimited visits to the museum as well as free admission to speaker presentations such as this one. So just food for thought there. You know, we talk about admissions to the museum, but that's just one form of revenue that comes into us. The gift shop is another, including custom-made puzzles, I might add. Might make some great little Easter presents for the little kids. We also have a few grants come our way once in a while, but we also rely on donations and sponsorships. Tonight's program is sponsored by Lurt Custom Cabinets. Let's hear it for them. Thank you so much for that. A few things coming up we'd like to make you aware of. We have coming up the Mouse Races on April 11th, and they're going to be right here at the Orris. And your ticket includes 2 drinks. We'll have roulette, plinko, and raffles, including a huge cooler of booze, which is always a hit in St. Genevieve for some reason. I don't know why. We also now offer birthday parties at the museum, so keep that in mind for the grandkids or something. You might like that. Coming up next on our speaker presentations, we have a program on the flood of '93. Who doesn't remember the flood of '93? On April 16th with Mick Schwent, Vern Bowman, and Bill Magger. They were all at the forefront of that historic event here in town. We would like to let you know that beginning in April and through the summer months, we will have our speaker presentations at 7 o'clock instead of 6 o'clock. So just make note of that. Also on May 7th, we've invited Jesse Francis back, and he's going to talk about the mysterious life and death of Meriwether Lewis. So that'll be an interesting one, I think. We always have something going on at the museum, and if you'd like to find out more, you can always call the museum at 883-DINO. Get it? Dino? Yeah, for sure. Okay, now tonight's presentation, Alaska, the Final Frontier. Again, sponsored by Lurt Cabinets. Let's hear it. Thank you. You know, I didn't know that Alaska was home to over half the world's glaciers. I guess I should have known that. And its official state sport dog sport is, and I gave half of it away, dog mushing. And you'll see some great pictures of that too. So without further ado, we've got a lot more to learn about Alaska tonight. Please welcome Ralph Dude, as we know him as, and Leila Portell.
Okay, good evening, and thank you all for coming. Look out here, it's like, okay, let's have a party. Let's talk about Alaska. For a few of you who might not know me, I'm Ralph Portell, known around town a little bit as Dude. My wife, Leila. We are Alaska residents. I was born and raised here. Job took me around different places. We ended up in Alaska in 2004. We fell in love with the place. Our kids went through school there, a great experience. And when I retired in 2018, we said that's where we're going to hang our hat. It gets cold and dark up there, so we looked for a place to retire. And Alaska, a lot of people snowbird. They head to Arizona and Texas. That wasn't us. We looked around. We kept coming back to St. Genevieve. It checked our boxes, and we're so blessed to be able to spend most of our time in Alaska, but then we get the winter over here in St. Genevieve. You guys, after being around to a number of different cities, moving around with the job, this is a nice place, okay? We like Alaska, but we love coming back here in the winter. Let's see what else we got. That's good enough. So tonight we're gonna, talk about Alaska. We've got some stories to tell. We've got, but we're gonna kind of focus. I'm gonna lace through here how to plan a trip, because it's not like going to Branson or going down to Florida. It's a little more complicated than that, and it's a little more expensive. So you want to make sure you get your bang for your buck. Okay, so let's see. Are we ready to go? Well, I'm gonna say click because I got a bunch of different slides and photos coming through here, and Steph's gonna click through. So first thing we want to thank Lurk Cabinets and Mush and Mike. Mush and Mike, Lurk. He's all dressed out in his mushing gear this summer. He is burning up because it was probably 60 degrees and he's got all that gear on. But we want to thank Lurk Cabinets. We have the Lurk Cabinets in our home and we really love them. Okay, let's go to the next one. Click. Alaska reality shows. I got to get this out of the way because every time someone finds them from Alaska, they ask me, do you watch the Bush People? Do you watch? So here's the last frontier out of Homer. I can tell you there's a Safeway store about 6 miles from their house. Deadliest Catch, Life Below Zero. I watch them too. I love watching them. I watch them to see how much is real and how much is made for TV. And there actually is a lot of thread of truth there, but they do kind of bump it up for TV purposes. I can tell you our pictures and our actors in our slides are not made for TV. This is real life stuff, okay? So let's do just a little survey. I think I probably know the answer to this, but how many people have been to Alaska? Raise your hands. Yeah. What are you doing here? Okay. How many have cruised? How many have done a cruise? Okay, a few of you. Okay. How many people want to go to Alaska or want to go back? Okay, now I know why you're here. Okay, that's good. So we have a real mix. So those of you who have been and experienced Alaska, don't hesitate to, as slides pop up, as I say stuff, if you have something to add and share with everyone, please throw it out there. Let's make this a group effort to make sure everyone gets as much information as you can so you can plan your trip when you come back. We also have brochures that Anchorage and the Alaska Visitor Bureau sent us on the back table that you can take and use for your planning purposes. Oh, there we go. Let's make sure we know where Alaska is because click. Oh, there we go. Because when you order stuff online and they say they only ship to the U.S., Alaska's part of the U.S., but what they're trying to say is they don't ship outside the lower 48. Amazon has really has cleared that out of the way. Before Amazon came in, we couldn't get anything shipped up to Alaska. Now with Amazon, they ship. It does take us 2 to 3 weeks to get our stuff. So we can't order it and have it on our front door in a day or two. But that's okay, we can still get it, right? Next slide, please. Alaska is big. If you haven't realized that, this is an overlay. It is a huge state, so when you come to visit, you have to navigate where you're gonna go. You can't just drive across the state and see different things. You have to really plan out your trip. We'll go through a little history around Alaska just so you get a little more context. 12,000 rivers, 3,100 named lakes, 3 million unnamed lakes, and a lot of their lakes are just really shallow gouges from glaciers and marshes. It became a state in 1959, and if you combine California, Texas, and Montana, you'll have the equivalent of the size of Alaska. So it's big. Okay, let's go to the next one. The other thing you have to know about Alaska is its regions, because if you're going to tour Alaska, you got to kind of know where you're going in the state, otherwise you may end up someplace you don't want to. Click. The northern side of Alaska, the North Slope, it's from the Brook Range flowing. All those rivers run out to the Arctic Ocean, which is they run north. Mountain range, tundra. If you see a picture of this, Anwar, save Anwar, so there's no oil drilling up there, and you'll see a picture and they have all these big redwood trees. There's no trees up there. It's tundra. It's frozen tundra, and right along this area right in here, Prudhoe Bay, that's where the oil fields are. And then there's a pipeline that runs from Prudhoe Bay all the way down to Valdez, which is 800 miles. So that's the North Slope. There's only one road to go to the North Slope, and it goes basically from Fairbanks up to Prudhoe Bay. The interior, Fairbanks and the Yukon run through there. That's all we can say about that. Then we got southwestern Alaska. There's no roads out here, and I'll show you a road map in a few minutes. Everything you want to do out there, you have to fly to. Next, this is South Central. This is where everything really happens. This and Southeast. This is where Anchorage is, Kenai Peninsula. The cruise ships frequent here. This is where your fishing is, and yeah. So you want to think about Anchorage, Valdez, Kenai Peninsula as South Central, and then click. Southeast is way down here, and there's no roads that connect Southeast to South Central. Okay, you have to fly to get there. So if you take a cruise to Southeast, you have to fly to get to, or continue to cruise up to South Central. Okay, let's look at something else. Towns in Alaska. This is just a sampling of them, but what I wanted to get a point here is, okay, Anchorage has 300,000 people, Fairbanks 31, Juneau 31, and then look how it drops off. These are small towns, and you probably have heard many of these, Kenai, Homer, they're small towns. So when you are planning your trip and you're going to stay in Homer, you got to think that it's only a town of 6,000. Book your hotel, know that it's a small town. It's got basically one road that goes down through the middle of it, and then there's housing. And later on, I think I have the number of hotels they have in there. So that's what you're dealing with when you go into some of these communities. Yeah, question?
How do you pronounce the town on the right, the second one down?
Ukhtavik after Kodiak.
Oh, Ukhtavik?
I'll say it again.
Ukhtavik. It used to be, what did it used to be? Let me think about it.
They recently took back their name, their native name.
Beryl.
Barrow.
Beryl. It used to be Beryl.
Most people can't pronounce it.
It used to be Beryl, and they changed their name about 5 years ago back to its original name. Next slide, please. Okay, weather. Weather is important in Alaska. It's always changing. But generally, June through July, 45 to 65 degrees. If we hit 70, it's a hot day. They measure the summers up there as to how many times they hit 70. Usually we hit it 2 or 3 times in the summer. A couple years back, Anchorage hit it 28 times, and that was miserable for them. There's no air conditioning in any of the homes. The hotels have it, the homes don't. Spring and fall, basically you're 30 to 50 degrees. Spring is really messy because you got break up, all the snow melting, slush around. Not this year, most years. This year they don't have much snow. And in the fall, it's very wet. August starts raining, and it gets, and the rain up there is not rain like we see here. It's just kind of a constant drizzle. And then winter, it's cold. I mean, that's what it is. So now we know about the weather. Hopefully this will work. Let's go to the next slide. I borrowed this from alaska.org, and I'm going to reference that website a couple times throughout this presentation. It is excellent. It will help you make your trip planning. Good slides, good balance. It actually has example routes and trips you can take, and a lot of good information. So rather than me try to tell you how to dress, I'm going to let Zen tell you.
Hi, I'm Zen with Alaska.org, and I am here to help you pack for your Alaska vacation. So the first thing that you should know is that summer in Alaska is really mild and pleasant, especially in South Central, Interior, Southeast, the regions where most visitors are coming either by plane or on a cruise ship. So between May and September, sorry, I had a mosquito on my face. Between May and September, expect temperatures in the mid-50s to low 70s, with it sometimes dipping into the 40s at night. June and July are definitely the warmest months, and generally it gets rainier as the season goes on, closer to August and September. So for the most part, when you're packing, you don't need any specialized gear for your Alaska trip. And Alaska is really casual, so you can bring some nice items for a night out, but most restaurants and other places, jeans are perfectly fine. The key to packing for Alaska is layers, so that you can adjust as the conditions change around you. Your base layer, you're going to want a lightweight wicking shirt. This keeps moisture away from your body, especially if you're active and hiking. I've got a short sleeve on here. This is a nice long sleeve option. You might want a pair of light hiking pants if you're going to be out in the woods. On top of that is going to be a mid-weight sweatshirt, sweater, or fleece. You might want this just on like a cooler day to kind of take the chill off. Then on really cool mornings, we might recommend a puffy. This is great to just, again, add that little extra layer of warmth. And this is probably the heaviest jacket you would need in the summer months. And then the last thing on top is a windproof, waterproof layer. This is really just gonna help you keep in all of the warmth from your top layers and also keep the water off. We recommend packing a pair of rain pants. They may never come out of your backpack or suitcase, but it's really nice to have to not interrupt your activity. They say in Alaska there's no bad weather, just bad gear, and this is a perfect example of that. So what about shorts and dresses? Sure. You can pack one or two. You may never unpack them, but on a sunny 70-degree day, you might be really glad to have them in your pack. Or you can bring a pair of lightweight convertible zip-off pants. If you're out on the trail and it gets warm, you can zip the bottom half off. Or it works really great in the opposite. You can start with them off, and if it gets a little buggy, you can simply reattach the legs. So shoes are important. Pack comfortable shoes you can wear all day long. Running shoes work on most of our trails, but if you're going to do any real hiking, we definitely recommend bringing a hiking boot for more stability and grip. And that's what I've got on. It's just a nice lightweight hiking shoe. You can also bring a pair of sandals, and if you want to bring a casual shoe too for walking around town, that's great. So then bring a backpack or a tote as your carry-on. You can use it to stash all of your layers during the day when you don't need them. And it's also a great spot to have these other must-haves with you throughout the day. First is sunglasses and sunscreen with 18 plus hours of daylight. These really come in handy, especially if you're out on the water or on a glacier tour. It can get really bright. Speaking of all that daylight, an eye mask. So most hotels do have blackout curtains, but this is really nice to have with you just in case. We also recommend binoculars. It's not a must-have, but if you've got them, bring them. Many tour companies will provide them, especially on wildlife viewing excursions, so you can get a closer look. Bring your water bottle. We don't have recycling in all of our communities, and it's less available in Alaska in general. So if you've got your own bottle to refill while you're here, that's really great. Also bring a light winter hat and gloves, again for those excursions where it might get a little chillier. And then finally, your camera, camera phone, and a regular camera. I definitely recommend bringing a regular camera, especially if you want to get some pictures of wildlife. They're not always going to be very close, so something that has good zoom will get you those pictures that you'll want to look back on. So this is it. This is what we recommend to pack for your trip to Alaska. And if you want a reference, we have a downloadable PDF that you can get on alaska.org.
Okay, click. So we have some models that show how to execute this layering. Click. There's Leila and I layered up. You can see we have our outerwear, our water gear, and you can see Leila has a vest underneath and her wicking layer underneath there, and our hats. We're down in Juneau here on a wet day. Click. This is our local models. And I got to comment on the hat. Now they have waders on top of all the other layers. It was a kind of cool and wet day, so click. And this is the Rozier clan who came up to visit. Now they're in their travel clothes, so they do have jeans on. They were in the car coming from Anchorage, coming down to the Kenai Peninsula, and you can see they have long sleeves on and a nice comfortable tennis shoes. So when you're traveling, you're around town, you're around Anchorage, Homer, walking, you can wear those comfortable clothes. When you go out and about, you really don't want to wear jeans. It's wet there, it'll wick up. Next thing you know, it's wet up to your knee and you're cold. So you want to think about, and on the underlayers, the wicking layers, we don't wear cotton. You don't wear cotton up there. You wear non-cotton type clothes. If it gets wet, it dries out quick and it keeps the warmth in your body. The other thing I always recommend, and you'll see the Alaskans wear this, and this is just a neck gaiter. It's a very simple piece of cloth. Put your head through there, put it around your neck. You can get 9 of them on Amazon for about $6. Unbelievable. get cold, you can pull them up over your head. These are so versatile. You'll see all the Alaskans wearing these. Let's see, what do we got next? Oh, that's what you want to wear. Dress, prepare, and it doesn't take much. It's a small suitcase. All this non-cotton clothes doesn't take much space. Okay, let's go to the next topic. She talked about the daylight. If you're up there in July, you're looking at 19 hours. The sun goes down kinda around 11:30, 12 o'clock. It doesn't really get dark, and it's back up at 4:30. So if you're not a good sleeper, you want to cover your eyes. If you're as you go later or earlier in the time, the sun, in December 21st, the sun comes up in Anchorage around 10 o'clock and down around 3. But it's really not up. It's in the southern hemisphere, like right there, always in your eyes, and it's not warm at all. So depending on what time you travel, you want to take into account the daylight. Next, earthquakes. The earth shakes up there. So be prepared for it. It's no big deal. It shakes a little bit and you go on about your day. I shot this back in February, and you can see Anchorage had one, Kodiak and Alaska had 2 of them. So there are rattles. Most of them are pretty small, but you're going to feel it. Next one, volcanoes. There is 140 volcanoes in Alaska. 90 of them are considered active, and right now Mount Spur is at alert. They fully expect it to erupt any time. It's it's going to blow ash out. It's already melting the ice cap on top. So they fully expect it to go. In '92, it put 6 inches of ash into Anchorage, and it's a glassy ash. I hope it doesn't go, and I hope the wind's blowing out when it goes. But you may run into a volcano. They're beautiful when they're sitting out there in the horizon, but you just never, watch your forecast for whether these things are going to go off, because they can interrupt your trip. Next one, please. Roads. As you can see, there's not many roads. This is south west. This is the North Slope. This is the interior. All the roads are down here in South Central, and even down here in Southeast, you can see there's no major roads because you can't drive from island to island. And Juneau, our capital, the state of Alaska capital, has no roads to it. You can't drive to it. That's a trivia question. You cannot drive to Alaska's capital. So the roads are fairly limited. They're 2-lane blacktop for the most part with passing lanes. So if there is an accident, it usually takes them 6 hours to clear it. You might as well turn around and go back and have a beer. Okay, next slide, please. National parks, there's a bunch of them up there. 15 national parks, 120 state parks. So if you want to camp in a state park or a national park, you can do it. They're all over the place. Next slide. There's only 3 of them you can drive to, though. Denali, of course, everyone knows Denali, right? Rango, you can drive to the visitor center. It's not really in the park. It's kind of on the front edge, and there's no roads in it, but yet it's the largest national park in the United States. The Kenai Fjords Park, you can hit Exit Glacier in Seward, but what you want to do is take the boat tour out of Seward to the Kenai Fjords, and the boat takes you around into the national park, and you get to see glaciers and all kind of great animals, and we're going to talk about that one throughout this. And then you have all these you can take a boat to. So there are a lot of national parks if you want to get your stamp. Next slide, please. Okay, so that's kind of an overview of Alaska. It's big, limited roads and all that stuff. How do you get there? Well, you can drive 4,000, actually it's 4,200 miles from Anchorage, or from St. Genevieve to Anchorage. We have a couple of people who have taken that adventure. Jeff and Debbie drove it up last summer in our truck. We drove it back. You have to have a passport because you go through Canada. You spend a lot of time in Canada, and you can't have a criminal record. They won't let you through. You can fly. Alaska Airlines flies through Seattle, and then the other airlines, some of them fly through Denver, Chicago. It varies. You can take a cruise. We'll talk about cruises a little bit, and then there's actually you can actually put your car on a ferry. It's very expensive, long route. But I'm going to turn it over to Leila and let her tell you how to drive.
Because I'm the better driver in the family. The reason he's doing this is because I wanted to do the drive a few years back, and he had done it once helping a friend move, and so I got to plan the trip. So I'm going to tell you about planning your drive. Has anyone in the room driven to Alaska? Jeff and Debbie Troutman, they drove our truck up last
Bill,
summer.
didn't
That
you
was
drive?
very nice of them.
Yep.
No? He says no?
We plan to.
Yeah. We're going to help you plan that. Yeah. So, like Dude said, 4,000 miles. One thing that I recommend if you plan to make the drive is to buy this book called The Milepost. It's kind of pricey. It's $40. You can get it on Amazon, or any bookstore will order it for you. But it is, in Alaska, Canada, they consider it the Bible of the North. It's going to give you every road, every gas station, every rest stop, every restaurant, any other. It gives you hotels and lodges and all kinds of places, so there's all kinds of information. On the table in the back are some milepost maps that they sent us for tonight's event. If you're on Facebook, there's a Facebook group called Driving the Alcan, and it's a very useful tool in planning your stops, how you're going to drive, and how to get there, where the best places to stop are. In my humble opinion, it would be a waste to drive to Alaska and not take time to tour Alaska. You can do it in 6 days, but you really should allow a minimum of 10 to 12 days to drive it to be able to see some things. Next slide. So like Dude said, you need your passport. You can't have a felony. They won't let you through the border. And this was even before all the latest stuff with Canada. So minimum 6 days, best to do it 10 to 12 days. There's a lot of really remote stretches where you won't have a gas station, you won't have a town to go through. So you have to plan that ahead of time, which is a good thing that the milepost really helps you with that planning. We did anywhere from 350 to, I think the most we did was 600 miles in a day. This is one of the most beautiful drives you will ever drive in your life. The Icefields Parkway is one of the most scenic drives. It's known as one of the most scenic drives in the world. It's where Jasper, Banff, and Lake Louise parks are. Jasper was our favorite by far. But last summer, Jasper burnt. So they had a horrible wildfire there and lost a lot of the town. But it's still worth a stop. The trails are still there, and the beauty is still there. They're just working on trying to rebuild the town. Debbie and Jeff, did you have anything to add about do you want to say anything about the Icefields Parkway or the drive? Or?
You're right.
Yeah, it's just breathtaking. It's just a beautiful place. Okay, next slide. These are some of the highlights along the way. One of our favorites is the Watson Lake Sign Forest. We have some signs coming up to show you, a slide to show you what that is. Laird Hot Springs is a great stop. Testa River Lodge is home of the world famous, the best cinnamon rolls in the world, they say, and I think they're pretty darn good. And then all kinds of wildlife that you'll see along the way. Next slide.
Quick.
Yep, there we go. So one of the reasons for this slide is to show you in the road. I don't know, it's kind of hard to see, but we have frost heaves in the road. So here you might just have potholes or bumpy roads. These are actually where the ground freezes and the road heaves. So throughout Alaska, Canada, anywhere that freezes, you're going to find these kind of roads. So you just have to be prepared for that. Click. There's another view. I mean, it's just breathtaking. One thing to watch for is even when you're in a town, there can be wildlife. Dude and I were driving through Watson Lake, and a bear ran out in front of a car and got clipped. And the bear ran off into the woods. We don't know what happened to him then. But it's not just when there's no towns around that you'll see wildlife. They're everywhere. Next slide. Next, sorry. This is the Watson Lake Sign Forest. So if you're going to drive to Watson Lake, drive to Canada, through Canada, I suggest that you make your sign before you leave and hang it up here. Take a hammer and some nails and nail up your sign. There's all over the world. There's people from all over the world. That's our puppy Cassie in front of the sign forest. Another thing to remember is that so as you go through and get through the British Columbia and get through the Yukon, and you hit Alaska and you think, yay, I'm here. But you have to remember that there's still 318 miles from Tok, Alaska to get to Anchorage, and 200 miles from Tok to get to Fairbanks. So depending what your final destination is, you still have a ways to go. Next slide. This is some of the wildlife we saw along the way. The wood bison are just all over the road. Okay, and this is a video of me driving. That's better. You see the sign?
Look at the scenery.
Very curvy roads, lots of hills, very curvy roads. I guess my biggest piece of advice would be if you're going to make the drive, take your time and be prepared. These are just more pictures around different lakes through, that one's in British Columbia. And these next ones are right off the Icefields Parkway, that's in Jasper. Yeah, and that's on the Icefields Parkway as well. So it's just an incredibly beautiful place to visit. And that might be your rest stop for, so just be prepared for the pit toilets, or just
Or hold it.
that might be your only choice. Okay, I'm giving it back to Dude.
Okay, just a few other things. If you saw it on the map, we crossed over at Sweetgrass. So making your way from here up to there, there's a number of different routes, and you can actually make pretty good time. The Troutmans did it in land speed time, and then you cross the border, and then you start into Canada and go over. The other things that you probably want to take with you, a roll of toilet paper, because you saw the restrooms, and have in your car some windshield washer, one of those squeegees on a sponge, because you're going to hit bugs. Maybe a can of Fix-A-Flat. Think about what you might need if you have a flat tire or you get bugs. When you pull in the service stations, usually their water bucket is dry or it's buggy, so it's better to have your own. So be a little prepared around that when you think about if you think about driving that trip. Next slide, please. Okay, if you're not going to drive, but you are going to take a cruise, and this is the Inside Passage cruise. So this is the shorter cruise. It basically will leave out of Seattle and it'll go up to Southeast. Remember the circle on Southeast, and it will hit Juneau. Skagway's not on this route, but it hits Skagway, Ketchikan. So they'll stop at 3 or 4 ports of call up there. Beautiful little communities. You saw them on the population map. Most of them have a population around 6,000. And they have various excursions that you can take in each of the towns, and then it can cruise back or you can fly back. Next slide. The longer cruise kind of does the same thing, but once it gets out of Southeast, it'll cross over to Gulf, Alaska, and come up to Whittier. Sometimes they'll drop in Seward and Anchorage, but those are very limited cruises. Most of them drop in Whittier. It's a ice-free deep water port that was built in World War II. And now they use it to drop passengers off to start their land cruise after you cruise. Next slide, please. So there's Whittier. That's where you land. They'll get you off the boat. There's actually a 2-mile tunnel that takes you out to the other side, and that's where you go up to Anchorage. And the cruises, basically, you can cruise and then fly back. You can fly up, cruise back. But all the cruises have also a land portion where you can get off the boat and they will take you, like Princess Lodge has 3 or 4 different lodges, one down on the Kenai Peninsula, a couple up in Denali, and they take you around. Some of them use a little bit of the train, some of them use coach, and they take you around to various sites. They always take you up to Denali, then they hook you back around, and depending on whether you go to Seward or Homer to see those sites. So there's a land portion. After, how many, did we have people who cruised? We did have some people who cruised, right? The people I've talked to recommended do the land first. Because the land is kind of a hustle. You're packing. Am I right on that? You pack, you're from a hotel, and you see a lot. And then it would be nice to get back on the boat and kind of cruise down and absorb it all in. When you do it the other way, I sat next to a lady on the plane, and she had done the cruise and the land, and her head was just spinning. She was like, I don't know what I saw. So if you're going to do it, do the land first, and then cruise out. Yes. What's that?
And I've had cruisers, and they like the anticipation of the land.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
But have they talked to him after they did the land?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
And
So,
it always kind of depends. And like you said, the longer ones will go to Whittier. Like almost all of the cruises are 7 days. They can be longer.
Yes.
There's very few that are like, there's none that are like 3, 4, 5 days. And Royal Caribbean and Holland will go to Whittier, and then Royal Caribbean will go to Seward.
okay, there you go. I'm not a travel expert by any means, for sure. Tina is.
When we did the land cruise or the land first, the people coming off of the cruise ship said, "Oh, I wish I'd have done the land first
Yeah.
instead of the cruise."
Make a choice.
Yeah.
You know, look at the itineraries, see which one you like, and you can make that choice. The other option on the cruises is there are small boat cruises, and they stay down in Southeast. They have 300 or less passengers. We did one with 40 passengers, and they cruise around. They hit almost all the same ports of call as the big ones, plus they hit a few others, plus they go into coves and they let you off on the land and you go do some hiking and stuff. Very intimate, really nice if you don't want to take the long cruise up and you just want the experience Southeast. Small boat cruises, there's Dream Cruises, National Geographic has one, and Uncruises are 3 of the big ones. There's a few others out there I don't know anything about, but the small boat cruises are something you might be interested in doing. Okay, let's go to the next slide, please. Self-guided. So now you decided you're not going to cruise. You're going to go up and try to do it yourself, which is fine. You just want to do some planning. The things you want to do is go through all the brochures, watch all your TV shows, figure out what do you want, why are you going to Alaska? Figure out those couple of top things and plan around those. For example, if you want to go halibut fishing, right now this year they're not fishing on Tuesday and Wednesday. The regulators tell them what days they can fish, and those. So if you were going to go up there and your trip ended up in Homer on those days, you can't fish those days. So book your fishing trip first and work backwards. If you want to go up to Denali, Denali's a 3-day trip. You go into Anchorage, you got 6 hours up. Next day you're on the bus all day. You could hustle back to Anchorage. That's a long drive. It's daylight, but you probably spend the night and come back. So we have, most time when people say, hey, can you help us plan a trip? Okay, what do you want to do to Alaska? Well, I want to go to Denali. I want to fish for salmon and halibut, and I want to see the Northern Lights. How long are you going to be there? 5 days. Okay, that's not going to work, So just pick out your major things. You want to go see the bears at Katmai? You got to book that a year in advance because they only let so many people in. Book that and backtrack how you're going to build around it. So do that. Rental cars are a challenge up there. There's not a lot of them, especially after COVID. They're expensive, about $100 a day. A number of our people that have come up have used Turo as an option, and it's actually worked pretty good for them. Hotels, Anchorage has 48 of them, and they're actually pretty good. They're building some more. Homer, like I said, has 27, they say on their website. I only know of 8 that I would even attempt to stay in. And there are Airbnbs throughout the various communities. Do your homework. The pictures may not show what that Airbnb is. You may have a an outhouse. Just make sure you read all the details. But there are Airbnbs. Like I said, schedule, book it, and renting RVs. That's a possibility. You'd go into Anchorage, get your RV, head to the grocery store, load up, and head out for your tour. Next slide, please. Some other options, small group tours. There's groups that run vans around, and that's what Mike and Terry and the whole group over here did this summer. And then Alaska Railroad has one, which Paul Oberle is doing this summer. You can always just go up and grab a tent and go boondocking around and camping. Take some bear spray with you. Next slide, please. So this is a small group tour. There's a number of different outfitters, a van of 10 or 12 people, and they set out your itinerary. They take you up to Denali. They take you rafting. You guys went? Did you go Jeep or four-wheeling up in Denali? And then you went rafting in Denali. Yeah, they give you time off to do stuff. You guys were down in Homer. You did some halibut fishing on your own. Over in Seward, did you go on the Kenai Fjords boat? So you can map that, but you can also use those tours, take one of those itineraries and see if that's what you want to do. If you want to self-plan it, use that as a cheat sheet and see if you can book everything yourself. I looked at it really quickly from a price standpoint. By the time you pay 300 nights at a hotel and do all the planning, it seemed like pretty reasonable price for what they charge for these small group tours. The next one, please. This is the railroad tour. This is the one I didn't really know how much they did. I got talking with Paul or Dutch Oberle, and his group out of Alaska is doing it, or out of St. Louis. There's 3 couples going up, and this is a really nice package. A little pricey, really nice package. They do a lot of different things. You can see it's a 10-day trip. They're all over the southeast or south central area. Again, you could take that, if you don't want to do that, you can take that as a template and then pick and choose what you want to do and see if you could book it yourself. Next slide, please. That's just where the railroad's going to run them. That's their map. Busy 10 days. Next slide, please. That's the railroad. The railroad is a beautiful railroad, and the ride we would recommend if you take any of them is from Anchorage to Seward, 3.5 hours. Beautiful ride. You can take a coach back. You can take the train back. The one from Anchorage to Denali is 8 hours. It's a lot of scenery, but it does get a little. Everyone I've talked to, I haven't taken it because everyone says it's a little long to be on the train for 8 hours or so, and the scenery gets kind of redundant. Next slide, please. Okay, can't talk about Alaska without talking about the first people of the land up there. The culture is embedded throughout Alaska. There are 229 federally recognized tribes, 233 villages. About 15% of the people up there are Native Alaskans. Next slide, please. The Alaska Native Heritage Center, it has a beautiful showcase of the various Alaska Native cultures. And if you're down in Southeast, if you're on the cruises there, Sitka, Juneau, they all have really nice, go to the next slide please, museums that show the culture in those areas. It's very rich. They're really getting, I'd say in the last 10 years, they've really gotten improved on how they display it and how they explain it and how they are protecting it and protecting their heritage. Click. Okay, next slide. Experiences. Okay, now we'll get into some real life experiences. Going back to the planning. So we're going to run through some some real life experiences you can put on your bucket list. But while you're doing that, again, go back, think about what you want to see. Why are you going to Alaska? When people say, I want to go to Alaska, why do you want to go? I want to go to Alaska. I saw it on, TV. Okay. There's a lot of things to do. We'll show you some of them, and then at the end we have another laundry list, and the list is long of what you can do up there. One thing it's not Disneyland. Okay. If you're grandparents, wait till your grandchildren get a little bit older. Holding a fishing pole, you'll see in the Kenai River. How old was Sam? How old were you when you? 13. Was that about right? Yeah. And you'll see he caught some fish. But if you take a small child out halibut fishing, you're going to be the one reeling it in, and he's going to be in the cab throwing up. So, just think about that. Also, I've talked to some groups who have gone up, and they've had a real diversity of age. They've had young folks, young adults, middle age, and older folks, and trying to do all these different things didn't, because some of the kids wanted to go hike. Well, Grandpa can't hike 20 miles and go up, so think about the mix of people you're taking up and what you're going to do. So let's go through some experiences here. I don't even know what's our first one. Oh, fishing. Got to fish in Alaska, right? Saltwater, you go for halibut, ling cod, rock salmon. You can go out of Homer, Seward, Whittier, Sitka, Juneau, Ketchikan. I'm sure Skagway has it too. Anywhere down in southeast. It's going to cost you about $400 to go out with a charter. Usually there's 6 packs, so 6 people and a captain and a deckhand. Out of Homer, they are running some bigger party boats. I wouldn't recommend that unless you're just pressed on time and you just want to go out and catch a couple chickens. Chickens are the small halibut. They get you on them real quick and you come back in. It's okay if that's what you want to do. Rivers and lakes, there's all kind of rivers and lakes you can fish. Kenai, we fish all the time. The Kasilof, you can fly in. They'll fly you across the inlet to fairly remote areas and put you down, let you fish, and then they'll come pick you up. The lodges, you'll see a lot of fishing lodges. They are all, for the most part, remote areas. There are some in Kenai. So when you go to the lodges, you're there to fish, which is great if that's what you want to do. You target salmon, rainbow, dolly, varden, and grayling. Don't worry about your licenses. You can buy them online, and you can buy them that morning. It's quick, easy. Usually when we're going fishing, if we have guests in town, we don't buy them until that morning to make sure we're not weathered out. I hate to buy a license and not use it. Next slide, please. We'll get in some. These are the species, basically. You see the king salmon this year are completely shut down because of bad returns. Silver salmon is a coho. The sockeye is a red salmon. And the pink salmon is what you get in the can in the store, and Alaskans don't eat it. They feed it to their dogs. And then the halibut is the big flatfish. Okay, next slide, please. What do we got here? Oh, look who's got fish. This is fishing on the Kenai River. Next slide, please. That's one of my buddies. We caught those in about 2 hours. The run was really going good, so he's happy. Click. This is Jeff and Debbie out fishing on the Kenai. And when you're fishing for the sockeye or the reds, you will be wade fishing because you can't. They do not bite the hook. You have to floss them. And a floss is basically you're snagging them in the mouth. You snag them in the tail. It's illegal, right? Right, girls? Yeah. So it's a little tricky, but it's fun, and you'll be wading. Boat fishing, if you go for trout, the drift boats will take you down, and you'll stay in the boat. Next slide. This is another slide of just fishing on the Kenai. Now, there are places you can hike in or walk in to fish. If you want to do it on like self-guided, you want to just go down and fish, you got to take your pole down. Those areas are a little more crowded. You get kind of combat fishing where you're standing right next to the person and everyone's kind of doing it at the same time, and you get to know all your friends. But it's doable, and there's fish. Also about salmon runs, if you're planning your trip, you want to schedule You want to look at when the salmon run. Right now there are no salmon in the rivers up there. In fact, most of the rivers are very low because the glaciers aren't flowing yet. In Kenai River, June 11th is the first run. So prior to that, you can't fish for salmon. That run kind of ends by the end of 4th of July or so. 4th of July is not a big fishing weekend. The next big run, where about 1.5 million fish come into the river, that starts July 10th, and it runs well into September. So you want to look at that. You want to target coho. They come in much later. So if you're going to, after the salmon in those areas or across, you're going to fly in, the lodges will tell you when their fish are running. Yes.
Just so you know, the fish, they don't really follow the calendar. So the dates he's giving are the dates the season opens for those particular runs, but they might not necessarily all be there on June 11th.
You can only hope. This is where we're getting ready to fly out to do a little fishing. So the outfitters will take you in a float plane and get you out to where there's fish. Next slide, please. Oh, yep, here we go. Look at those trophies.
Those Valley boys.
The first two were good looking.
We do know that beard will hold about 1.5 gallons of water because he dumped it in the river while he was trying to catch a fish. So, okay, next slide, please. Okay, click on the photo, please. Move the cursor over, click on it. So this is, when you're fishing, this is what you have to deal with. They're after the fish also. That guy that's standing down there, he's standing at the trailhead.
Yep, time to move.
Yep, time to move. Click on the other one, please. Luckily, he was more interested in the fish than me and the other two guys who were trapped on the other side of the river until he got done eating. He went on playing and we went on fishing. Okay, next slide. There's Tony with his fish. There's Lisa with hers. Now the tradition in Alaska is your first fish you catch, you have to kiss. That only applies to the women though. Okay, next, click. There's Mary, and she loved to bonk them as much as you, and that's what you do. As soon as you get them on, you bonk them to slow them down, and then you put them on the stringer. Click. There, she got it. Click. Okay, click. Let's see what we got. Oh, it's after her. Click. Ah, she got it. Click. Click. And there's that's a big buck redfish that's been in the out of the salt water for a few weeks, and so their bodies just distort like that. So we don't eat that. You put him back and let him go do his thing. Okay, next. And if you go for salt, I'm sure you guys have seen pictures of all the big halibut. That's the big flat fish that
You don't see the men with the big fish like that. That's the women that catch those big fish.
So those are the flat fish. I mean, I could fill hours of pictures of fish. So let's move on to the next one, please. Hiking. You know, if you're hikers or even if you're not hikers, and I strongly advise plan that into your trip. The trails in Alaska are fantastic. There's a lot of trails. You have to be prepared. You want good shoes. You want a day pack, bug spray, layers, because as you go back, you're going to sweat when you go up to elevation. Then it's going to get cool, so you put your layers back on. First aid and bear spray, probably not a bad idea. Next slide, please. As you prepare, you want a trail map. And all the communities have sets of trail map, or you can go to
All trails.
All Trails. There's other apps that give it to you. They will tell you the elevation, they'll tell you the distance, whether it's difficult, easy, and what you might run into. But you want to do your homework on these. You want to know whether they're a one-way or a loop. Because if it's a one-way, 1.5 miles, it's a 2-mile hike, right? You go to the end, or it's a 3-mile hike. You got to go, and you get into some long ones, and you find out it's not a loop, and you're 20 miles out, and you got 20 miles to go back. It's not a good thing. Next slide, please. Anchorage has a lot of trails just outside the city limits in Chugach National Park. Flat Top is a famous one. It's great to hike. You can see the Flat Top trail profile over there, 13 feet, 1.7 miles. So do your homework before you go out. Next slide, please. These are all the trails behind Anchorage. So if you just go into Anchorage alone and put your backpack on, go up to where Flat Top is and hit the trailhead. There's numerous trailheads. You can get back in the wilderness really quick. Anchorage, those are all the trails that sit back there. Okay, so when you think about wrapping hiking into your trail, into your plan, it's easy. It's on your time, right? You can squeeze it in here or there, and you got a lot of daylight. Click. So this is once you get up. This is above Anchorage. Once you get up above tree line, you can see this is an early spring hike. Click. These are pictures of just show you what kind of terrain you're going to be on. This is up in Hatcher Pass, and if you look right down in there, there's Mary Grass and Leila, and we started down here, and there's a lake over here we're heading to. So beautiful area up there. Click, please. Oh, this is Jeff and Debbie. We're heading on a 2.5 mile hike back to some waterfalls to watch some fish jump up. This is one of the better trails. This is kind of the best trail you'll see. It's nice and wide, relatively flat. Most of them are kind of like this. Next slide, please. So this is what you can run into very quickly. It's slick. So that's what some of the trails can look like, and when it gets wet, you see they have all their layers on, and they're taking their time through it, so you can run into that real quick when a rain shower hits up or comes up over you. Click. That was down in Southeast, by the way. But if you hike, you get up above the tree line. This is some of the stuff you'll see, and this is the click. But this is what you're after. You're sitting up on top of the world, looking out over the mountains, and seeing what Mother Nature at her best.
Dude,
Yes.
what's the elevation for the tree line?
It's about 1,500. These mountains are only 3,000. Yeah, these mountains they look big, but this one on this side that we're hiking up, and the trail before here, that's
Most of the areas that we hike in and around South Central Alaska start at sea level because we are at sea level.
yeah. So
I'd say
yeah.
between 13 and 1,500 feet where the trees.
Yeah, and then the mountains are bare on the top up.
Plenty of oxygen at that level.
Yes, yeah. You don't. Yeah, there's not an altitude issue.
Sometimes there's not enough for me. That's too steep.
No, but that's a good question. It's not like hiking Colorado where you're up at 14,000 feet. Most of these mountains that you see around here, those are 2,000, 3,000 feet. These way in the back that you can't get to, those will probably go 5,000 or 6,000. And then, Denali is 21,000. So difference there, but you're not hiking that. Next slide, please. Okay, wildlife. If wildlife is on your list to see, which a lot of people want to see bears, moose, and stuff like that, you got to plan for it. It is everywhere. I mean, it's alongside the road, it's in the lakes, it's all kind of different wildlife. But if it's on your list and you want to go see bears, clearly Katmai is the place to go. But there are other lakes and stuff you can fly into to see bears. Moose are are everywhere. There's really not one place to go see moose, maybe downtown Anchorage. So let's go through some slides and talk a little bit about wildlife. Click on this slide, please. We actually went over to Katmai and spent a couple days over there, and I tell you what, it's amazing. Watch this big sow right here. There, she got it. You know, you see that on videos a lot. We got to see it in real life, and these bears just sit around and chow, and as you're hiking out to go to the platform there, you know, the bears are coming and you just step aside and they walk by, and then you go, oh my gosh, I gotta go change my pants or something. They're just, so if you want to do that, that's the place to go, and you gotta book that. Jody, how far in advance did you book yours? A year?
About a year.
Yeah.
And it was 1,500 a person.
So, and you're flying out of Homer, right? You're flying over? So they're going for,
I don't know how much you weigh.
yeah, all the flights will ask you how much they, so they're going over for the day. If you want to go over and spend the night, you got to book that at least a year in advance. They do have cabins, that's what we stayed in, but they also have a campground, and you can get in the campground a little easier. It's got a big electric wire fence around it to keep the bears out, but you can do it. Okay, next slide, please. Moose, they're all over the place. And if you want to see them, you just really have, there's nothing like Katmai that you can just go see them. Above Anchorage, up in all those trails, there's a lot of moose up in there. In the summertime, they kind of go up to the elevation, get where it's cooler. Next slide, please. There's all kind of other little varmints, a lot of eagles. Eagles are like pigeons up there. Ravens. Next slide. Click on that. That's a video. This is where we were flying in fishing, and while we were fishing, these guys showed up. That's Mama trying to teach her babies how to fish. So usually, if you're out with the fish, the bears are with the fish too, right? Okay, next slide. Now this one's a little hard to see, but we'll pick it up and click on that. Watch up in this area as the video plays. You can see a few fish in here, but watch up in here. See them starting to, there they are. That's what Mama and babies were after. Okay, go to the next slide. So these are stills of that, so you get a better shot of what it looks like, the number of fish that come in and spawn. Click. And click. So that's a lot of fish. Okay, otters. They're the cutest little things, but they're you'll see them on Kenai Fjords tour. You'll see them if you go out fishing on a charter, because they're all over the place. You can stand in Seward and watch them right offshore. You can stand in Homer and watch them offshore. Sometimes they're in the harbor goofing around. Next slide, please. Seals. Next slide. Birds. If you are a birder, Alaska is a fantastic place to go birding. They all come up for the summer, just kind of like the people do. All right, the snowbirds return, and they all kind of birds. And these pictures were taken on the Kenai Fjords tour. So these are some of the shots you'll see from the boat as you go out to look at the glaciers. Next slide. That is the type of boat you would be on. That's Major Marine. The other one is Kenai Fjords tour. By the way, we're not travel agents. We don't get commission for anything we're in, you know. But this tour, I've probably taken this tour 6 or 8 times. I'll take it again this year if I can. I mean, it's just this past summer, 2 different groups went out and saw. Did you guys see the bubble? Humpback whales bubble feeding. That's where they blow all the bubbles, get all the fish together, and then they come up and grab the food. Was that amazing?
Debbie, did you and Jeff see that too?
I highly recommend it.
So 2 groups from St. Genevieve got to see bubble feeding. It's fantastic. Next slide, please. Okay, this is when we were out on that fly-in fish. We'd cleaned our fish. Click on, that's a video. We cleaned our fish and we were throwing the carcasses out. When I say, and if you watch in the background, watch for all the different eagles flying around. That's a juvenile, and he's going to try to get a bite, and the mature eagle is going to tell him, yeah, you better not get too close. Yep, get back. Okay, next slide. So Eli had his high-powered camera going, and we were trying to get this shot. Click on that. So he was taking stills and I was taking video. And you see there's 4 eagles, 1, 2, 3, you know, so that's what you can see when you go out fishing. Or if you're on the Kenai River rafting, again, where there's fish, there's eagles. Actually, in Homer, where there's the dump, there's eagles. A lot of eagles at the dump. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this is, you'll see this on the Kenai Fjords tour also. This is on our boat. We were fortunate to see a couple of humpbacks come up closer than we like, but click on that video, please. We were actually working with our GPS trying to find the fish, and we heard this, oh man, that's a whale, where is it? And we looked out and it was like right there. And oh, cool. But Kenai Fjords will get you on those fish. Did you guys saw the white, you saw the humpbacks. Did you see the orcas? So it's a great tour. Okay, that's some of the wildlife. Next, glaciers. You know, Alaska is the place you go to see glaciers. So if you haven't thought about putting that on your list, you know, it probably should be, because they are melting. And Alaska has a lot of glaciers. Over 50% of the glaciers in the US are up there. And actually in Alaska, they say they're melting. About half of them are growing while half of them are melting. And really, it's not a matter of melting, it's a matter of how much snow load gets up on the ice field that pushes the snow down. So it's a combination of how much moisture they're getting on top versus temperature. So let's look at some glacier opportunity. This is what you'll see on Kenai Fjords trip, or if you take some of the cruises down the southeast, they'll take you to tidewater glaciers. Next slide. That's us on the Kenai Fjords tour. And guess what year that was? That's 2020. Next slide, please. So this is on Tracy Arm. This is taken when on our small boat cruise. Next slide. This was our cabin, and we're looking out the window, and there it goes. So that's kind of an advantage of the small boat cruise. They can get into places where the big boats can't get to, so you can see stuff like this. Next slide, please. Okay, so think if you want to see glaciers. You can hike to Exit Glacier, Mendenhall Glacier in Juneau, so there are some glaciers you can actually hike to and see if you don't want to go out on the boat tours. Sea kayaking is a blast. And almost all of the communities, Homer, Seward, Whittier, all have outfitters that you can take a tour, or they'll give you a kayak, you jump in a water taxi and they'll take you over, dump you off for a while, you motorboat around, have lunch, and they'll come back and pick you up. Next slide, please. These are just some pictures of opportunities to see kayaking. Next, you'll see wildlife, you'll see the starfish through the clear water. It's pretty cool. Next slide, please. That's the whole crew after a day of sea kayaking. Next slide, please. Okay, rafting. We love to raft. We raft the Upper Kenai. This is, I don't know if you recognize that lady there. That's my mom on her 85th birthday. Her and Dad were up, and we took them down the river. So that's Katie, Eli, Leila, me, and luckily we pulled off the river, and our neighbor, who lived 3 doors down from us, was fishing, so they were able to take a picture for us. Next slide, please. So this is what rafting, that's how Bill rafts. You notice I got the oars, he's sitting back there enjoying himself. Next slide, please. You know, when you're rafting, you can pull off, depending on your outfitter, and enjoy the day. Next slide, please. There's Jeff and Debbie during some rafting. Oh, that's before we take off. That's where we're going to launch. Next slide, please. Dog sledding. We talked about dog sledding at the very beginning. So the thing about going in the summertime, right? There's no snow to dog sled, right? But there's a couple different outfitters who will take you dog sledding, and they'll have wheels on the sled. It's a dirt road, kind of, you know, but it's less expensive than doing this. This is a helicopter, takes you up to a glacier, and you get about 2 hours of meeting the dogs and riding around up on the glacier. Seward, they do it out of Seward and Girdwood. It costs you about $500 a pop, so you get a helicopter ride and a dog ride. Next slide.
That's Royce and Michelle Hogue a couple years ago when they were up, and Melinda and Rod.
Next slide. I had my old boss called me this a couple months ago and wanted to do something in Alaska, and I said, well, what about going dog sled? Oh, I'd love to do that. Well, you got to take a helicopter ride. That's okay, we'll do that. So they're going to do this adventure. Next slide, please. So there are other things to do. The Salty Dog is down in Homer. You have to go in and if you're down there, you have to go in and have a beer and put $1 on the wall.
Some people have to duck to get in the door.
There are a lot of microbreweries. Anchorage has like 18 of them. Homer has 2. Sterling and Soldotna have 4. You know, so if you like beer, now it's not $2.50 beer. It's about $8 a glass, but it's good. And I got to talk about pickleballing because I do that a lot. This is pickleballing in Alaska. You're in the middle of a hockey arena that you've taped off, and you got a bear in the background. So but for you pickleballers, they have open play in Homer, Anchorage, Sterling, Kenai, and Soldotna. So pack your paddle. Okay, now we'll get into some sceneries. Because part of your trip, you know, you don't really plan to, like, I want to go see scenery. Maybe it is your thing. The scenery up there, depending on what time of year it is, it's unbelievable. It's eye-popping. Stop the car, get out of the car. Don't try to take the picture as the locals don't like people who are trying to take picture of the mountain goat that's sitting there. Get out and enjoy it and take it in. This is the type of stuff you'll see. This is Homer, Alaska, the lupin. You can see the glaciers sitting in the marine layer. Next slide. So these are just to whet your appetite a little bit. The clouds in Alaska. You know, you got a lot of daylight. You got these clouds floating along, and people don't ever comment on them, but the clouds are just really very interesting, very pretty to look at. Next slide, please. That's Denali. That's the mountain that everyone wants to see, and that's a shot from about 80 miles away. You can see it from Anchorage. You can see it from the Kenai on clear days. When you're in the park, the odds are you can't see it because did you guys see it? You got to see it. So sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't. Next slide, please. This is Denali on Labor Day. If you're planning your trip, if you want to see Denali, go Labor Day. Go in the fall. You can see a little snow just starting to dust the lower mountains. the colors, the animals are all over the place because they're trying to get their last feedings in before the weather hits. And the park basically closes after Labor Day. But depending on your schedule, what all you want to do, it may not work to see these type of colors, but Labor Day is beautiful up there. Next slide, please. Okay, we can't talk about Alaska without talking about winter, right? There are things to do in Alaska in the winter. Snow machining, they don't call it snowmobiles, they're snow machines. You can rent them, you can get in a group, they'll take you, and there's all these lodges out in the wilderness, and the rivers become highways, snow machine highways. They actually mark them, and you can get out and go snow machining around and go stay at lodges. Next slide, please. There is snow to deal with, so you have to take that into account when you're traveling around, especially if you're going to be driving. With the stuff they drive on up there, this town would shut down for, I mean, they don't use salt up there. It's only cinder. They only grit it, and people usually have studded tires. So it's amazing what you can drive on. Next slide. If you want to go out to one of the lodges or do some of the other things in the winter, they do put skis on their planes to go buzzing around. We were doing a 500-mile snow machine trip at the lodge, but Leila and Tammy didn't want a snow machine, so they flew out and met us and had a great evening on the deck. And then we took off to finish our trip. Next slide, please. And then there's festivals. This is, what's that one? The Winterfest? Frozen River Fest. Frozen River Fest down in Soldotna. It's 0 degrees. But people come out. And then, of course, there's the Iditarod. There's Ferrande. Those are at the end of February. There's things to do in the winter. And then, of course, next slide, please. There's the Northern Lights. So cross-country skiing is great in Alaska. Anchorage has fantastic cross-country skis, trails. If you're good at backcountry skiing, they do that. Downhill is a little limited. Alyeska Resort, it's really not a destination ski resort, but you can downhill ski. Helicopter skiing, that's where they fly you up and they throw you out of the helicopter and then you have to ski down the mountain. Yeah, you got to be an expert for that. They did lose 2 this year doing that. And then Iditarod and Ferrande, and dog sledding. They'll have snow in the wintertime. If you're up by Fairbanks, you can go to North Pole and see Santa Claus. And then there's hot springs up there also. These are just, next slide please, are just some pictures of the Northern Lights. If you want to see Northern Lights, you really want to go up to Fairbanks in the wintertime. And there's click. And there are, I forgot to look up the web page. There's a web page that forecasts the sun flares and how many days it's going to before it hits, before the Northern Lights activity fires up here. And they've gotten really good at predicting it. So you might want to look at that and see if they are predicting any sun flares to come up if you're going to make the trip. Click. Okay, one more, I think. Yeah, a lot of green. Okay, click. Okay. So we've talked about some experiences. Here's kind of a laundry list of things. I mean, it doesn't cover them all, but we talked about Kenai Fjords, talked about train ride, halibut fishing. Oh, the Rainbow Boat Tour. There's a tour out of Homer that takes you over to Seldovia. A great day. They take you a little bird. You get to see some birds, see a little wildlife. Take you over to Seldovia. You can have lunch. Beautiful little community. Hike Flat Top. Coastal Trail. Anchorage is a great blacktopped trail right there downtown. 26 Glacier Cruise is out of Whittier. Really nice boat, catamaran, very smooth. The big cruises actually head up to those glaciers before they come back to Whittier. So if you're on one of the cruises, you may not want to take that because you probably have already seen those glaciers. Anchorage has a Saturday market that's fun, and of course there's salmon fishing. fly fishing, if you want to hike up to some of the mountain lakes and fly fish, there's usually lake trout up there. The Katmai bear viewing, sea kayaking. In Soldotna, we have, during the summertime, we have free concerts where the food trucks come in. Talkeetna is a neat little community on your way to Denali. It's worth stopping at. They have flight seeing, they have a jet boat ride, they have Denali Brewing, and it's just a neat little community. And it's a nice stop off if you come into Anchorage, go up, spend the night in Talkeetna, finish your trip on up to Denali. But you can work all that in as you do your planning. And actually, you can do your camping, rafting. You got to go to the Moose's Tooth in Anchorage and have their pizza and beer. And then there's Exit Glacier in Seward. And that's just starting to scratch the surface of what you can do up there. So let's talk about cost just real quickly, because it's great to look at all this stuff and say, I'm going to do it all, but there's a cost, and so I just looked up some rough numbers just to not to throw water on this, but airfare basically $800 to $1,000. If you get anything cheaper, book it. We used to be able to fly up for 5 or 6. It's now 8 to 1,000. The cruises kind of vary. You can go cheap for about $2,500, but up to $5,000. I don't know what cabin that means, but that, and you also have airfare to Vancouver or from Anchorage. Small boat cruises run $5,000 to $7,000. So those are 7-day cruises, that take you around Southeast. Fishing in the river with a guide, usually around $300 a day. Salt boats going out $400 plus to go up for halibut. Dog sledding with a helicopter, that's a $500 per person. Hotels generally run, just assume around $300 a night. Could be a little bit more in Anchorage during peak time. Meals, it's expensive up there. I mean, breakfast $15, $20, lunch $20, dinners, $40 to $60 a person. So, it's if you have an Airbnb or something like that where you can cook yourself, you might do a little bit. Liquor and beer, I left it open because, when you get to Anchorage, you buy your liquor and your beer. Don't buy it in these small communities. It's very expensive, but it's a little more pricey than here. Rental car is roughly $100 a day. The Denali bus tour, I found it for $144. Didn't you say it was more, Jody?
I must have did something wrong. It was like $230.
Was that for the both of you, per person, or for both of you? Or maybe you're on the limousine. Flight seeing tours usually run about $500 a piece, and the boat tour we keep talking about, the Kenai Fjords boat tour, I went on their website and it was just right at $300. So when you start tallying all this up, that's kind of some of the costs that you may run into when you're up there. One thing there's 2 websites you should write down. Alaska.org, that's where Zen came from, and they really got some good stuff. And travelalaska.com, that's the official Alaska travel website. Go there and sign up for the Alaska Travel Guide. They'll send you a travel guide similar to some of the brochures we have in the back. Now you will be on their mailing list, and they will give your name out to other people, so they will send you stuff, but that's okay because now you're accumulating information and some of the, yes? Alaska.org and travelalaska.com. Now, I'll say that, I gotta say this thing's gonna be on TV, I think. I got the ones, just meant the ones, my personal opinion is travel advisory, kayak, those type of broad-based, where when you search Alaska visitor or something like that, those pop up first. They're controlling the search tools. Go down lower or go to these 2 other websites. Find the outfitter you want to go to. Don't go through them to book anything. they don't know Alaska. And once you find the outfitter you want to go to their website or call them. When you're fishing, you know, booking a charter fishing boat, call the captain, talk to him, see if you're comfortable with him. They would much rather deal with you one-on-one rather than you show up through an online booking process. You'll be more comfortable with it. You'll have a little bit of a personal relationship, and you'll find they're very accommodating, especially when they can talk to you. So just remember, it's not Disney. You know, they're you got to kind of, you know, plan for what you're doing and make sure it meets, you know, the people that you're taking up. And I know you want kids to experience it, but you put, you know, a little 5-year-old in the Kenai River and they're down the river, and they won't be able to pull in a fish. Let them get a little bit bigger to where they can appreciate the, you know, the fight of the fish. Question?
I was going to say, when we were in Homer, we did that Moose Trail Adventure ATV. That's really fun. And then Captain B was a good guide on the boat.
And that was out of Homer, right?
Yeah, both were out of Homer.
Didn't you guys do a 4-wheel drive up or something up in Denali? Was that a 4-wheeler or was that the Jeep ride? So these guys did a 4-wheeler in ATV up in Homer. There's also, or not in Homer, in Denali, there's also a Jeep ride up there. I think that's what Paul Oberle is doing. So there are excursions. Any other excursions that people have taken that they think are worth doing? Yes?
We did the whitewater in Denali.
The whitewater in Denali on Denana River? No, the Denina. Nenana River. Okay, so the whitewater in Denali.
Did one of you fall out?
When we lived in Alaska, our neighbors, they did it like 6 times. They treated it like a roller coaster ride. Yeah, question?
My granddaughter has asked us to take her for her graduation prize. And she wants to go to the Alaska Sea Life Center to see the elephant seals. Have you ever seen an elephant seal?
If you've seen other aquariums, big aquariums throughout the U.S., the Alaska Sea Life Center doesn't hold a candle to them. It's really small, but if it's on her list of something she wants to do, it's a good organization. But if you've been to one of the other big ones, one of the other big aquariums, it could be a bit of a disappointment.
Yep. Does she know that they have them? Because the Sea Life Center was built in Seward, Alaska as a result of the Valdez oil spill. So Exxon funded it to do research. So it's really a research facility. And so their displays are less dramatic than you see in the commercial aquariums because that's really not their purpose. But so I would check to make sure that it's there. But if you're going to do that, I would definitely, out of Seward is the Kenai Fjords boat tour to the Kenai National Park, and you will see, you saw that picture of all the sea lions on the rocks? She'll see them in real life. Those guys hang out there all the time and the boats take them there. That's guaranteed you're going to see them on that boat tour. So you could, if they do have them at the Sea Life Center, you could see them there and then go out on the 6-hour boat. Now in Seward there's a couple different boat tours. You don't want Resurrection Bay boat tour. That just goes around Resurrection Bay, which is right there. You want either the 6-hour or the 8-hour that take you over to the Kenai Fjords National Park. Good. Any other questions?
You didn't talk about the All-Alaskan Highway.
What's that?
You didn't talk about the All-Alaskan Highway. Only one vehicle goes. You go down to Chicken, Alaska, and Eagle, Alaska. And
Were you on the trip with years ago with?
That was the first time.
Yeah.
When I went back the second time about 3 years ago, they didn't do that anymore.
Yeah, no one does that anymore. And you know why Chicken, Alaska is called Chicken, Alaska?
Yeah. You tell them why it is.
Well, they wanted to name it after the state bird, ptarmigan, but they didn't know how to spell it. So they just went with chicken. It was much easier.
It was was a wonderful trip. And like I said, the second one we took was altogether different. We did a whole different land tour the second time than I did that first.
Stormy Crawford did
very
that first one, right?
Yes.
Were you on that one? Okay. You know why I know that? Lillian was telling me because she was on that trip. Yeah, no one goes up to Chicken, Alaska anymore. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
Dude, I'm just curious. It has really nothing to do with the travel, but you were talking about the indigenous people that northern part that's all tundra.
Yes.
There is population up there, I assume.
Very.
They live like that population.
Well, actually, if you head toward the western side of that, over toward Nome, up by Prudhoe Bay in that area, there's no villages out toward Anwar. You go from Prudhoe Bay over, you've got that town, and that was a village. Now it's a town, and
Mostly little dotted villages.
yes, and really there's a long history on. Unfortunately, the villages, it's very tough living for them, and it's just, technology has kind of ruined their lifestyle. They want to hold on to their subsistence hunting and fishing, but they now have snow machines. They can run out to the herd, kill 4 caribou, haul them back, clean them out, and then start drinking again. And where before it would take, they would have to carry all their stuff, camp out there for months, shoot, clean them, and then haul the stuff back, and now they can do it in 4 hours. Unfortunately, snow machine, the gasoline in the villages run about $8 a gallon, so they have to figure out how to do. It's a challenge for them to hold on to their culture with technology. We were out on a hunt for one moose. We were sitting we were hosted by this young lady, had 2 kids, and she was sitting there on her phone watching. What are you watching? She goes, well, I'm watching a basketball game. Oh, who's on? The kids were playing intramural basketball. Literally, I could throw a rock at the gym, and rather than go to the gym, she was watching it on the internet because the village has internet. So there's a real challenge with that on the villages. There's no livelihood out there, and they want livelihood, but yet they want subsistence. So it's tough. Any other questions? Okay, well, yes.
How long did it take you to go 500 miles on your snow machine?
We were out about a week, but the snow machines. No, I guess we were 4 or 5 days. You're running these rivers at 60, 70 miles an hour, so you can get there pretty darn quick. That's the problem with and these people, the local Alaskans, their risk tolerance is way beyond mine. One guy showed up with a toothbrush and 1 change of clothes, and me and another guy I was with, he had Wiki sleeping bags, vacuum packed. He had provisions. He had a whole sled behind him of provisions, and you don't need that stuff. Well, you take a snow machine and you run out, you get out there that quick, and all of a sudden you break down, and now you're 50 miles from someplace. And we were running. It was sub-zero when we were running, so you can get in trouble real quick. But these guys who train for the Iron Dog, which run from Anchorage to Nome, it's the same path as the Iditarod. Their training runs, they'll go out and run 100 miles in the evening after work just to get their training runs in. So the risk tolerance in Alaska is amazing. It's interesting. When you're up there, another thing, don't talk to other tourists, talk to the locals. They're hilarious. They have stories, and they love to talk to people, and you'll learn a lot from them. Okay, I think the next slide is door prizes. So we thought it would be fun to have just a few little door prizes. We've got. So pull out your. Pull out your tickets. We have a few baskets back there. Leila, what are you doing?
I'm pulling out the tickets. Okay. Ready? The first prize is this basket with halibut and salmon and some other things, and that is. Nope. Ends in 217, 305 217. I'll bring you your halibut.
Okay, Bill wins the first door prize.
Check his ticket.
The next one for a 12-pack of Alaskan beer, 305254.
Has to be someone.
Alaskan beer and dry.
And that beer,
Drink it on the way home.
that beer is brewed in Juneau, Alaska. If you're in Juneau,
Yeah, if you go to Juneau, visit the Alaskan.
you can tour the brewery. It's a very nice brewery.
It's your birthday. 305238.
Rick wins a basket.
It's in the freezer in the back. Okay, last one is for an ulu basket.
You gonna tell them what an ulu is?
An ulu is a knife. Does anyone know what an ulu is?
The ulu is a knife used by the first people of Alaska.
305225. Oh, I'm sorry. 305225.
Okay, next slide, please. Okay. What else you got, Leila?
All these brochures up here. So anybody who's interested, take a brochure or some before you leave.
And there's stickers.
Stickers.
Okay.
We want to thank Alert Custom Cabins, Mike, for sponsoring it, Dick and the Orris. Steph in the museum, and you know, this speaker series is really neat. Look at it. For those of you who aren't members, consider being a member. This facility is fantastic. The displays they have over there, especially with the history of St. Genevieve, I got to put a plug in for it. It is really a neat facility. So support the museum. Thank you for attending and safe travels. Question?